at the end of the day, like the pandemic allowed for me to create Not So Critically Acclaimed and everything. So as much as like it was a disappointment to have my college experience uprooted like that and all the other things and like the struggle to find employment at the same time, though, like this wonderful thing came out of it. And there's no way of knowing if it would have happened without the pandemic. If I'm having a hard time or feeling creatively blocked or anything, I'll look back and all I've accomplished as a way to inspire me and remind myself, like, look at how far you've come. But in terms of like actual accomplishments with TikTok and career-wise and stuff, it's like, I did that literally myself. I had no connections in the space of the entertainment industry or social media or anything like that. And any opportunity that I had, I got it because I worked my butt off having a goal and wanting to reach that goal and not let things stop me. Hi, I'm Laura, TikToker at Not So Critically Acclaimed, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Starry Lemon Lime Soda. Hey Dream Drivers, it's Raina here, and I've got something exciting to share with y'all today. You know we're always on a hunt for that perfect refreshment, and let me tell you, Starry Lemon Lime Soda hits different. There's something about that crisp, clear burst of lemon lime flavor that just brings the good vibes and great taste every time. And the best part, it's caffeine free, so you can enjoy it anytime, anywhere without the jitters. Whether you're catching up with friends, taking a moment for yourself, or just need a refreshing pick-me-up, a crisp, cold sip of Starry is like a little burst of ah in every can. It's the perfect companion for all those moments that make life sweet. So what are you waiting for? It's time to see other sodas. Go find Starry now in stores or online and experience that refreshingly crisp taste for yourself. Stay refreshed, stay dreaming, and let's get into this episode. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 407 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. Super excited for you all to hear from this week's guest. We have Laura Flescher on the show. She's a New York City-based marketing professional, content creator, and TikToker over at Not So Critically Acclaimed. The TikTok has over 265,000 followers, so we are in for a treat with this resident TikTok expert. We're going to talk to Laura about how she put her dreams into motion and has really built a budding platform in the media and entertainment sphere. I'm excited to have Laura on the show, not only because I know her in real life. She's also going to be sharing her experience of starting a platform during the pandemic. It was her senior year of college at Emory University when life shut down for the whole world, and she used that as an opportunity to dive deep into her passion for film, all things TV, and hasn't looked back since. Laura is going to be sharing her journey building Not So Critically Acclaimed and all the opportunities that have come because she decided to bet on herself. Some of the things that we're going to talk about in this episode include what inspired her as a child, as always, how she was able to find her voice on TikTok, some of her favorite TikTok growth tips. She is an expert when it comes to creating content, engaging with her community, and just building her own platform and her followers. So if you are somebody who's on social media and needs some help from a Gen Z expert, this episode is for you. Laura is juggling building and being a content creator with also having a demanding 9-to-5. So being able to talk to her about how she sees her future and if content creation is something she wants to do full time is a perspective that I think you all are going to want to hear. If this is your first time listening to Dreams and Drive, please make sure that you're following us on social media. We are Dreams and Drive across all the platforms. And if you want to get our weekly newsletter, The Keys, and get email updates delivered right to your inbox weekly, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. All right, let's hear from Laura.
Thanks, Raina. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on today. So people listening, I may or may not know Laura in real life. We'll keep how we know each other a mystery, right? But we know each other very well. And I have been a fan of Laura's for like the past 2 years, right? And because I think I've known you, wait, has it been 2 years?
Yeah, just a little over 2.
Yeah. So, I wanted to have you on the show because not only are you a star in real life, you also are a star on the social media webs, right? I know I'm aging myself, my millennial self, and you are a Gen Zer. But Laura, I love to start all our interviews with the same question, right? So this one, I'm going to be asking you as well. What was inspiring the young Laura, right? What was that thing that just really lit you up as a child?
I think I didn't really know what it was until then thinking about it, looking back now. imaginary play and just kind of being able to occupy myself inspired me. Like, I don't think when I was a kid, I obviously knew that, but as an adult now looking back on my childhood and all the stories that like my parents have told me about how I acted as a kid, I think that's what inspired me. You know, like when I was younger, I know my parents always said like I didn't need others to play with. Like I was very content, like being like to occupy myself compared like they always talk about it compared to like my brother who like needed a lot of attention. And I know like when I would come home from school, like I would take off my school clothes and put on like my dress up clothes and just play by myself all the time. And I think that now looking back very much like inspired this aspect of like being a self-starter and then like entrepreneurial spirit of like wanting to be a go-getter and doing things by myself and not necessarily like needing others to help me. Or obviously like I'll take help and people helping is a great aspect of things, but feeling like I wasn't bound by that. Like I didn't feel like I couldn't do something just because I didn't know anybody in a space or I didn't have connections or have help. Like that didn't stop me from wanting to like chase my dream and do what I wanted to do.
I can definitely see how, like, it all makes sense now, right? It's like those characteristic traits definitely still are there. Was there a big dream for you as a kid?
For me, I don't think I had like a big dream when I was young. I know like the first job I ever remember saying, like aside from like I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a dancer or something like that. The first one that really stuck out to me that I was like being consistent with was I wanted to be a fashion designer. I could not draw at all, but like me and my friend, we used to take our Barbie dolls and like I got like a fashion making kit one year for like my birthday, and it came with fabrics and a little mannequin, and we would like design the clothes for the Barbie and then do like little fashion shows. So I always loved the space of, I guess mainstream culture and like pop culture esque. And then so between fashion and then when I got older, I really always was in the world of like TV and movies. I was always the like go-to person to talk to about your favorite show. And then when I got like to college, I realized, oh, this is actually like an industry you could like have a job in. And so that was what really clicked for me when I realized like my passion for just like watching TV and being invested in like pop culture could actually get turned into a career. So that was like the space that I always then knew like once I became a, I guess, technical adult by like 18, 19, that's what I was like, I think that's where I want to strive.
So you actually had a very unique college experience attending Emory 2020, the year of your graduation, the pandemic hit. How did that affect you personally and professionally?
So it was rough. It is crazy to think that that's been like almost 5 years ago because I feel like time has moved very strangely since the pandemic. I think a lot of people feel that way, that the pandemic really changed the perception of time. So yeah, I was in the middle of my spring break and my senior year of college, and they told us like, don't come back. Which was it was really heartbreaking. I definitely had like a kind of a strenuous relationship with my college experience. Like I didn't love it at times, and I struggled a lot, I would say, with just, feeling like I belonged and things like that. But by the end of it, like I was really upset that that was kind of how I said goodbye, like the fact that I didn't get to say goodbye like on my own terms. I did like have an in-person graduation in 2021 that I got to go back to campus for and see some of my friends for. So that was nice to have that closure. And I'm like a very sentimental person. So it meant a lot to me. So I was definitely like really upset by that. But what was even scarier was, knowing I wanted to work in entertainment. Like it's not a space where you can get a job like 7 months, 8 months in advance, like when you work in consulting or in business and things like that, where, you have an internship the summer before your senior year and they usually like give you an offer to come back for full time. Like that was not what I was experiencing. So even before the pandemic, I was very much like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Like graduation day, like, it's really going to be the very last minute, like applying to jobs, seeing what happens. And then of course the pandemic threw that into a loop, knowing I wanted to work in entertainment, which the world of Hollywood was like completely shut down. They couldn't film anything. At that point, really wanted to work in the event space. And events and in-person things were obviously also completely shut down. So it was just like a double whammy
It
of
just
like,
seemed confusing,
yeah,
heartbreaking.
it
You
was very
had no
much like
idea what was
no
going on.
idea. I mean, it was such like, unprecedented time. Like, I know there was a lot going on, and like it's also hard because, you're understanding the magnitude of what's happening in the world, and then some other like problems and things you're facing could seem so minuscule compared, but everything's relative for everyone's experience. So I mean, thankfully I was able to like move back home and have my parents support me and everything, and like allow me the space to kind of almost like grieve the end of my college experience and figure things out, because they were like, it's not you, like it's literally the world is like exploding.
Nobody.
So it's not like you did anything wrong. It's like this was just what was dealt to you. So that's kind of like, yeah, it was a unique experience. But at the end of the day, like the pandemic allowed for me to create Not So Critically Acclaimed and everything. So as much as like it was a disappointment to have my college experience uprooted like that and all the other things, and like the struggle to find employment at the same time, though, like this wonderful thing came out of it. And there's no way of knowing if it would have happened without the pandemic. So,
Ooh, that's gonna definitely be a soundbite, right? That's gonna be your clip that we're gonna use to promote this episode. But let's talk about that, right? How there's kind of like a blessing that can come from like horrifying times or just really sad times. Talk to us about TikTok, your interest in media and entertainment, and the intersection there and how you were able to build something.
yeah. So, like I said, when I was younger, I was the girl who watched every TV show under the sun, and my friends, always came to me to talk about it. I remember, like, even when I was in middle school, and I'm talking to like my English teacher who was in her mid-20s about the shows that I was watching with my parents because my friends weren't watching them, and I probably shouldn't have been watching them either at like 13. But I just always loved talking about it. And like, I think also my parents are very invested in like the pop culture world. So I definitely like got it from them.
You mean your dad?
Um,
I didn't know your dad was. Oh, I
yeah,
shouldn't
even
say
my
that.
dad, my dad loves, my dad loves pop culture, and like a lot of the shows, like we'll watch them together and we'll
Does he love
gab
Taylor
about
as
it.
much
Like,
as you or not?
uh, yeah, it's really funny. Um, but yeah, so I would say that was always my thing. I loved talking about it with people, but it became a time where also there were shows that I loved talking about, but like my friends didn't know about them, or they didn't want to listen to me talk all the time about this. So my senior year of college before the pandemic, I was pretty bored. I had a lot of, like, I was a second semester senior. I was taking like 3 classes. So I had a lot of free time, and I was toying with the idea of like starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or something. And I decided to do podcasts because at the time I felt like that was what was like all the rage and everyone was getting into. And I just started talking about my favorite TV shows. I made like an Instagram account for it, but only the people who would follow were like people I knew in real life. It's not like I was getting any sort of traction because Reels didn't exist yet, or anything. And then the pandemic happened, and I knew TikTok was like starting to blow up. And I didn't make an account until after I graduated college because I knew if I taking my classes, I would be distracted. And I still had to graduate. So I started my TikTok in June of 2020. And I think what happened was I was scrolling and I saw a video of like someone talking about a TV show or doing a trend with a TV show. And I was like, oh, maybe I can use TikTok as a way to like promote the content I'm talking about on my podcast. So that was the reasoning, was like, let's use TikTok as a form of marketing for the podcast. But then over time, my TikTok ended up like doing really well and a lot better and getting more traction than the podcast. So now it's like TikTok and Instagram, once Reels started, became my main focus more than like my podcast. And now, I mean, I haven't even done my podcast in like over 2 years.
And maybe that's okay, right? Now that you think about
Right.
it, like maybe you had to just start with that to get the idea going, because so many people are just sitting on ideas. People who listen to your stuff, follow you, they might be wanting to do something. So hearing you just say how you allowed like this one little idea to then evolve into something else, I know it's inspiring to me. So definitely it's going to help somebody just get started. What do you think was really also important in those first days of just growing the online community for you on TikTok? Do you remember what was your strategy, how you were approaching, or did you even think about growth, or were you more focused on just making stuff because you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I didn't really think about growth well, actually, that's a lie. I definitely thought about growth because I had a personal TikTok first. And I would make like silly videos that were just like the trends. And it got to the point where, it got bad where I was thinking like, I just wanted my videos to do well. Like I was seeing all the the followers and the views. And then if a video like didn't reach a certain number of views within a certain amount of time, like I would delete the video and re-upload it. And then that caused my account to just like, as they say, like be shadow banned, and none of my content was out. So when I went in with Not So Critically Acclaimed, it was like it was like my second try. And I knew like, okay, you need to just commit, post the video, leave it alone, don't do anything. And my second video went viral. And for like the time, it was like, I think it reached like 100K views. And that kind of set my content up and like my account up in the algorithm of TikTok to be like, oh, we're going to allow this account to reach that amount of people versus, and they say like, I think within your first 5 videos, like TikTok figures that out, like what level of viewership you're going to reach. But really my strategy was just, trying to find things that were interesting. Like I always like to think about content in 3 categories. One being educational, like you're giving viewers something they don't already know. So I did a lot of like fun facts about TV shows. Then doing things that were like funny because people like to laugh, obviously. So that was a lot of like the trends and stuff. And then the third thing is like relatability. I think that's the biggest one, honestly, because people love to find like relatability to others and kind of either whether it's like commiserating or sharing in the joy of something. So that's really like the true pillars of the content that I started with and kind of like my strategy, I guess. But over time, it's definitely changed, I would say, because the app has changed, trends have changed, goals have changed.
More people are now on TikTok, right? As well.
I would say like more people are on it, but also at the same time, people are leaving. Like I hear more and more about people leaving TikTok, because I know like a lot of these big TikTokers and creators, like they talk about how they haven't grown their account in like a year or something. Like they still get views, but they don't get like increases in followers like they used to. And I can definitely attest to that. Like my viewership has gone, like not viewership because I get the views, but I would say like the actual turnover of followers, it's not like it used to be. And I mean, it's been like over 4 years, so it makes sense for things to constantly be changing.
Are there certain things, I know you talked about the 3 pillars of like your content strategy, right? But are there certain things, like how do you approach actually then creating the videos, getting them up? Is there a strategy there that you're using, or like even just figuring out the content of what you want to put underneath those categories?
HBCUs, they're more than just schools, right? They're where we learn, grow, and build. It's a place where we're free to be ourselves, innovate, and live our best lives while chasing those dreams and, yes, securing that bag. But the journey to success is not always easy. That's why Walmart is here for you every step of the way. From late night study sessions to game day celebration, Walmart's got your back, helping you manifest those big, audacious dreams. Whether you're starting a business, climbing the career ladder, or figuring it all out, Walmart is here supporting Black excellence at HBCUs. At the end of the day, your hustle, your creativity, and your journey matter. Walmart, we're all about empowering you with the spark to keep pushing forward. So let's get to it together. Learn more about how we are amplifying your story at walmart.com/Black and Unlimited. It's your journey, and we're proud to be a part of it.
This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by McDonald's. Fashion loves Black style, but Black designers don't always get their shine. That's why McDonald's has partnered with 5 rising Black designers and 5 industry insiders to help change more than clothes. The designers have hit culture's biggest red carpets and runways and connected with fashion industry insiders for ongoing career-changing mentorships, all while building their brands and bringing along fans like you. Plus, there's so much more to come. Want to see what's happening with these designers on the come up? Follow their journey on Instagram at WeAreGolden. So let me tell y'all about my new favorite thing, all the amazing deals on the McDonald's app where you can save money every single day. I've been using it so much lately, taking advantage of all the app deals on the daily because you know your girl is all about saving coins. One of my favorite things right now to do after picking up my boys is to treat them to a post-school snack. I love that I can scroll through the app and see all the options they have to offer, plus the daily deals. And you know I love the feature of ordering ahead. The boys love their nuggets and fries, and depending on how many reward points I have, I can even redeem a comb for myself every once in a while to seal the deal. I've been putting all my friends onto this time-saving, money-saving hack. And get this, right now you can get a 10-piece Chicken McNuggets for just $1 when you order in the app. It's only valid through December 2nd, 2024 at participating McDonald's. Offer valid one time per week, excludes delivery, and you must opt into rewards. McDonald's, save money every day with the app.
Yeah, I definitely think like for me, a lot of my content is dictated because I talk about TV and movies. It's obviously dictated by like the world of Hollywood. So like last summer when the strikes were happening, the content it was a struggle bus because not much new things were coming out and there wasn't like news that was breaking in the world of TV and movies. So I felt like that put a damper on my content and it felt like uninspiring to make stuff. But now I think like my strategy for making content is very much dictated by like the news outlets and new shows and movies coming out. So for example, like the last few weeks, I feel like I've been a little like uninspired, lacking creative drive. And like my favorite show, just their new season, like finally came out. And now I have like a list of videos that I need to make and want to make. So it's just like that natural passion for the show is like, well, that's inspiring me again. It just goes back to the same passion that had me start the podcast and start social media is what like keeps me inspired, just that like natural love for a show. But my strategy is like I usually write down my ideas for the content and what I want to do. I'll scroll through, see what's trending, and I'll play around with things when I am recording, like the certain styles in which I want to actually like record something, if it's going to be a green screen or if it's just going to be me or if it's going to be like video like footage of a clip from a TV show or a movie, like figuring out the best way to frame it. A lot of times I've also like I'm a visual person. So when I am writing, like when I'm creating my content, I first start by like writing physically out with like a pen and paper, the ideas, and then I'll go on my computer and I'll do any like sort of kind of research that's needed and type out like not a script, but sometimes a script. Like if I'm talking about, let's say a new show and there's new cast members involved, like I want to be able to say their name properly. And because I've gotten, comments of like, that's not how you pronounce things. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
And people are not, they will tell you in the comments, right?
100%. They'll be so honest in the comments and, figuring out the log line. So I just like to be really tightened up in my kind of quote unquote script of things. And then once I've written it out, I'll actually like sit there and record. And it's funny, like one of my friends was here when I was recording a video and I rarely record in front of other people. So then she got to see like how many times I actually have to like start over or something because I just didn't like the way I say it, or I can't speak, or I'm like have a brain fart or something.
You don't think about the behind the scenes. Like I'm like, maybe this is easy, but the amount of preparation that goes into it, I'm just thinking TikTokers are just taking their phones, like, okay, guys, but there's like actually so much that goes into it. How much time do you think it takes for you to make an average video?
With the $5 meal deal at McDonald's, 5 hits different. 5 gets you a McDouble or McChicken and a small fry and a small drink and a 4-piece McNuggets. 5 gets you more at McDonald's. Prices and participation may vary for limited time only.
I think also like, going back to the behind the scenes, it definitely depends on the creator, because my content being like a specific niche of talking about TV and movies and news and having some research and scripting that goes into it is different to like a lifestyle influencer who is literally just sharing, a random thought that they have on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever. That's like literally take their phone out and take a selfie video and it's uploading great. Like I wish it was that easy. I would say the average like video, probably like, I would say maybe 30 minutes. And that's probably saying a lot, but I guess the time it takes to figure out the idea, get any information, like download all the pictures and then film and edit, add captions and like any text and then post. So I would say that's the average, but sometimes it can take, depending on what it was, like sometimes it can take even longer. And then when those ones don't, it's also always funny when you see the ones that took so long don't perform as well. And then ones where you like didn't even think anything about it and then it performs really well. So it's like a give and take of reward and punishment in a sense.
So let's do something. I've never done this one before, and hopefully you remember, or hopefully we can work through this. Let's dissect your most viewed video. Do you remember, or do you know what your most viewed video is? And tell our listeners right now how many current followers you have on TikTok as of early November, 2024.
As of early November 2024, I have about 268,000 followers on TikTok. Right. My most viewed video is like 10.5 million views. And yeah.
And which one is that?
I made it in, I think it was 2020. Actually, I don't remember if it was 2022 or 2023. But there was a new movie called Do Revenge that came out on Netflix. And I remember when promoting the movie, I talked about how, like, after watching the trailer, it seemed like Netflix just hired basically an actor from every popular teen drama show that was on, like, at the time across all platforms. There was someone from like every show. And I was like, this is like the crossover of the century. So the video I made was, I'm not even in the video. It's just my voiceover. And it's like it's the movie and they're showing like when each character appears. And it's like my brain being like, Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Camila Mendes from Riverdale. Like, and the start of the video was like, this is how my brain works when watching TV. Like, basically I can't shut it off. I'm always thinking about like the crossovers and where actors are from and the encyclopedia of the entertainment industry in my brain. And and like Netflix commented on the video, and it went viral because I don't know, people love to see it. But I also do think, funnily enough, I said like Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but in the video I said from Cruel Intentions and like Scooby-Doo, and everyone in the comments blasted me. They're like, how do you not mention Buffy the Vampire Slayer? And I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't like, first of all, I never watched the show. And like in the moment, I just didn't think about it. So I wonder also, like, a lot of times videos do like well when you kind of either clickbait people.
You have some kind of drama in it.
Some kind of drama, exactly. So,
you know what's funny? I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I also have one viral video on Instagram that has like 1 million views. And it's kind of similar during the pandemic. You know how they had the Versus thing where they had like stars who were performing? They basically had music stars who were performing on live, and like everybody was like, oh, this person won or that person won. And the first in-person one they did was with these two Jamaican dance hall artists, not Elephant Man, oh my god, Bounty Killer, and then Elephant Man. Was it Elephant Man? Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, but in the comments, I put like, on the video title, I put the wrong name by accident. I think I put like Buju versus whatever. And when I tell you, and I even, once the video like was released, I don't want to take it down and redo it. So I just put in the caption, hey guys, I'm sorry. Like, I put the wrong name. People were bashing me. You don't know reggae music. You don't know this. I'm like, yo, I really was so sorry that I did that, but it got 1 million views. The only bad thing is like it has nothing to do with Dreams and Drive, and it didn't direct anyone. It was just something that I just posted because I'm like, oh, I love this clip. I love dancehall music, and it was just funny. Like that happened to me as well. But at least for you, it was in your niche, and it made sense with like your overall brand. Okay, so you have that part of it. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges, right? And then I want you to we'll talk about challenges and we'll move into something else as you wind down. So challenges, Laura, you know, I know you have a full-time job, right? You're balancing that alongside your own career. What are some other challenges that you're facing as a TikToker, online content creator right now? And how are you working through them?
Yeah, I would say again, like the same thing from before, like that lack of inspiration sometimes, or when you put all this effort into a video and then it doesn't perform the way you were hoping to, it can feel like kind of defeating and honestly, like sometimes existential, like esque crisis, in the sense of like trying to understand the videos. Like I know sometimes I'll scroll all the way to the bottom of my account to like 2020 and see the old videos and how they used to perform so well. Like every video is always getting over 10,000 views easy. And I'm like, it's just not the way of the TikTok world anymore. But I remind myself when I see like other viewers, other creators who are going through the same thing, and really just again trying to be authentic, because it's the videos that are authentic and you're excited to make that then do well. And that I get joy in like watching. So I think like that's a struggle for me. And then also like the challenge is always figuring out like what's next and what do I want to do with this platform. And like, there is also always like the ban on TikTok looming, and that.
Do you think that's going to be real? Do you think that it will actually happen?
I saw something that like someone said, even if it's been passed and things, like the amount of time and that till anything actually happens is like so long from now. And in reality, nothing's going to happen because it's just going to end up getting sold and all this stuff. So I'm hoping, because I remember when there was that announcement that it was happening, like sometime during the pandemic when it happened, I literally was like distraught, because that was like, I was unemployed at the time, and that was my everything. And I felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do without this? So that's kind of another thing for me, is like always trying to figure out, like people have asked me, if you could be a full-time creator, would you do it? And I said, no, because it's unstable. Like it's not a guarantee to get brand partnerships every month and have like that stable level of income. But for me, it's more, and like, I don't know, for me, it was never about like being a creator long term. I think it's more using the platform and this following to get to the next step, and like, having to be like, what if I could be a showrunner or write my own TV show or have a production company or things like that. I think that's more it, like getting more in the room of talking about my favorite shows and like finding a way to get into the room before those shows come out. Like, what if I could be a consultant for how to market these shows? Like, that would be super cool. So it's like trying to think about ways that I can promote myself and my platform more. So like I've been doing a lot more of my own, like reaching out to people on my behalf. Like I don't have a manager. I am my own manager, agent, publicist, everything.
You got to do it sometimes. That's what you got to do.
It. And I honestly think if you got the right manager who like believed in your mission and everything so hard, like they could definitely do a good job. But unless, like, no one's going to care about your work more than you are. And so that's what I really think about, like my outreach myself. And I've seen a lot of like good turnover from that. So that's really reassuring, because it's just showing again, like I'm literally out here doing it myself and I'm making things happen.
Let me stop you there, because I want to ask you specifically a little bit about all the things that have happened that you could have never imagined, right? Like I know behind the scenes things that you've been able to do, show premieres, and meeting your favorite stars. Talk to our audience a little bit about how you creating Not So Critically Acclaimed has really unveiled new pathways, new like areas that you would have never known you would have gotten into, both from a monetary side and just from an opportunity side as well.
Yeah, I love that question. For me, there's like a few things. So number one, of course, like the premieres of it all is something I never thought would be the case. I said a little bit earlier how I always wanted to work in like in-person events and experiential marketing. And a big part of that was I'm type A and I love planning stuff, and the creativity of like the theme was a movie and all of that. But I'm like, I want to go to cool events and see celebrities. And then when I got invited to my very first movie premiere and more invites like that came, I was like, wait, I don't need to work in this area because I'm getting invited out of my own fruition. And that was like, honestly, the most surreal experience. My very first movie premiere was like a little over 2 years ago. It was a Netflix movie, and they treated me like I was the star of the movie, essentially. Like there were people with like, the people at Netflix are just the best people, like the digital publicity team. And they were like, oh, do you want us to take content of you walking the carpet here? Let me hold your purse. And then like paparazzi was literally like, Laura, over here. And I'm like, this is so like,
how did they know your name? That's cool.
They have like a little, they have like the digital publicity team, like almost acts like your personal publicist. And they have a little envelope with your name on it. And they show it to the photographers so they know like to direct you if they want you to look at a certain place. And that was like the biggest pinch me moment of my life. And then like my friend was with me and we looked at each other like, oh my God. And then like the next day I called my parents to tell them about it. They're like, that's crazy. Like, it's just never something I imagined. when someone like recognized me for the first time from like just on the street.
I've been with her in person more than once, or people have recognized her. That's dope, right?
And that was so like bizarre. But it's also like, it's funny because I'm just like a regular person. Like I'm in a book club, and when I found the book club through a like group chat that was like another creator on TikTok made like a Facebook group for people who like young girls looking in New York City. There's like group chats for every major city. So I was in that, and people were talking about joining a book club. So all of these girls are on TikTok and heavily involved in that pop culture area of things. So it makes sense. But like I went to the book club, and then sure enough, like pretty much all of them then recognized me from TikTok. And now I'm like, this is my book club, and we all chat. And it's like, I'm just a normal person, literally, who just happens to have a following. But I like to think of myself as just a fangirl with a community. But then the other really cool opportunity, I think, for me was a very minor thing at the beginning that was something I never thought I could get into because of Not So Critically Acclaimed. It was during the pandemic. I was looking for freelance opportunities, and I had Not So Critically Acclaimed. So when I joined like this Zoom, it was like found in a Facebook group for people looking for freelance things. And it was a Zoom for potential interns to meet like potential employers. And you had to introduce yourself. And I obviously at the time had Not So Critically Acclaimed going for myself. I think it was like a few months already. And that was what I like promoted and showed my skill set at. And this woman was like an up and coming screenwriter. And she like messaged me and was like, you seem really cool. Like we should collab or something. And then I ended up working with her for like, it was literally only a month. It felt like so much longer because we were like on Google Hangout like all day long chatting, and I was helping her like basically be an assistant in terms of when she was writing scripts, I would help her edit. We would meet with like consultants for the projects that she was developing. And that was something that like I had no experience in the world of screenwriting. And after working with her like that, I toyed with after that, and also like being in a class where I had to write like a play for my final project. And my professor was like, you're actually a really good writer. Like, have you ever thought about doing this? Like that, the combination of these two, like kind of planted the seed of maybe I could write something someday. And like a couple of months ago, I finished writing a pilot, which is like, that was a dream.
Clap on this end.
That was a dream for me. Like I have a picture of myself at like the Museum of Ice Cream from a couple of years ago. And they had a wall where they had like those letters in the wall that were like magnet letters. And it said like, what is your dream? And everyone had to like fill in things. And I write my own TV show. And now like I could say, even if it hasn't like been made obviously or anything, but I still like wrote it, is a big accomplishment. And now my goal is like, to pitch it somewhere and I don't know, somehow see if there's a way to like
listen, 2020, we didn't know the pandemic was gonna hit. You didn't know that when you first started your TikTok, you never knew just how much it would grow. You never thought about all the opportunities it would lead you. So who knows? In 4 years, you might be having another conversation. I might be working for you. Who knows, right?
I feel like, who knows?
It's also interesting. I want you to just quickly talk about this. Is from the monetary side, you've also been able to monetize Not So Critically Acclaimed, right? So what kind of different partnerships have you been able to get on that end?
Yeah, I've been able to get a lot of like partnerships, specifically in like the TV and film space. So a lot of times it's like networks and studios will reach out, or like agencies on their behalf reach out and basically say like they have a new show coming out, a new movie coming out, and they would love to like partner with me to promote it. And that's been like super crazy. The ones that are the craziest are when it's for like something I already had a track record of talking about like organically. And then it's like, I get really excited about that because obviously it's like something I was passionate about for so long. Because obviously sometimes if it's like a new movie, I wouldn't have necessarily known about it. But if it's like the new season of a show I've been watching for 5 years and it's like, oh my God, I can't wait to collaborate and do that partnership. But yeah, so those are definitely like always surreal opportunities and really fun. And it's competitive because this is a very niche space. Like there aren't that many creators who only talk about film and TV. I mean, like there are a good amount, but compared to like being a lifestyle influencer where you can take a brand deal for literally anything and not have the issue of exclusivity, you could do a promotion for a TV show, but also do something for a clothing brand and a food brand, a cleaning product, like all at the same time versus when I only talk about TV and movies, it's hard for me to take any sort of any sort of brand partnership with a brand outside of that space. So I'll be limited in what I can do more so.
So on the flip side, do you think being more niche helps you build your community though? And I'm asking you that just as somebody who's trying to find my voice online. Do you think it's a blessing or like a curse? Like, from your perspective.
I mean, I think it's both, because on the one hand, they say like when TikTok was first starting, like they say, find your niche, because that you'll be able to like get the traction more, and micro influencers are where it's all at. But then of course you don't have as big of a reach and as big of an impact as being a lifestyle influencer when you don't have a niche. But there are so many more people like that then. Like there are for every like 20 lifestyle influencers, there might be like one. I would say that's even more. For every like 100 or 1,000,
you stand out more. I feel like
exactly. There's one TV and movie creator. So I think that's niche. I also like the added benefit of, from a privacy perspective, it's like being a lifestyle influencer, I think, is really intimidating, because you're putting like your whole life out on the internet then, and basically giving people the opportunity to comment on it, versus for me, like my followers don't know they don't know that much about my personal life and like day-to-day experiences. They're seeing my opinions on TV shows and movies, which are my opinions and are a part of my identity, but they're not like, I still have that separation kind of like Not So Critically Acclaimed and then like Laura and my personal life and everything, which I think is a value. But of course, like, if you want to get more brand deals, it's easier if you can touch every category and say yes to everything. But
it'll all make sense. I feel like for you, it's all gonna make sense. Everything's gonna flow, and it'll all make sense in the long run, right? Hopefully,
right. And there are the people who like are film and TV creators who I remember like following them when they weren't that big, and then like over the summer blew up, and then like now they like work red carpets and they get brand deals for everything, and they have found creative ways to like cross over those lanes, and it's like, wow, good for them. Like, love that. I mean, who knows? You never know where
in the world where you work and what you do. If you got a really cool partner, I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to make it work, right? So you never know, right?
You never know. Catch me on the red carpet. I don't know if I could do the interviews.
But you could do that. Red carpet makes total sense for you, because you do film, and like I could see you do maybe a fashion crossover, maybe even like a food crossover, eating something. You could do. I think there's definitely space.
Yeah, I would just I meant more like I'd have to turn it on my brain to be like, these are just they're just normal people. You're not interviewing like Ryan Reynolds. It's just this guy named Ryan. He's just a normal dude. He's a dad. Like, he's chill, You
never know.
So
I have the last question for you, Laura. This might be a little deep here, but go with me. What has it really been like for you, seeing you put your dreams in drive, right? Like, when you sit back and think about all that you've accomplished, all that you're doing, how much life has changed, like, moving to New York City, like living on your own, building this life here, like what are you most proud about? And also, what does it feel like for you?
I mean, it feels pretty great. Like, I think that's another thing, like if I'm having a hard time or feeling creatively blocked or anything, I'll look back and all I've accomplished as a way to inspire me and remind myself, like, look at how far you've come. Like, there were so many roadblocks and things that you couldn't help, but you didn't let that stop you from making opportunities happen for me. And I think back to, there's this one, it's not a quote, but it kind of is a quote, specifically from, it's a like rap battle, drop the mic thing. It was like Rob Gronkowski versus Gina Rodriguez. And she basically, and it's so stupid, but it gives me like goosebumps when I think about it. She said, like, her diss to him was like, oh, you won the Super Bowl, but you did that with like 30 other guys or whatever. And like, she's like, I broke the glass ceiling. Like, I did that myself. And I'm like even getting goosebumps talking about it now. And I just think back to like, everything I've done is like, everything I have done and have accomplished and received in my life in this like short period of time. Like obviously like taking like privilege and my parents who've helped me and things like that out. But in terms of like actual accomplishments with TikTok and career wise and stuff, it's like I did that literally myself. I had no connections in the space of the entertainment industry or social media or anything like that. And any opportunity that I had, I got it because I worked my butt off having a goal and wanting to reach that goal and not let things stop me. So that's really been like inspiring to myself. And it feels like just absolutely fantastic. Like, and I try to remind myself that, I mean, it's been almost 5 years and like, look at everything that I've accomplished and, always remember that, you know? I know it's teary.
You know what's crazy? And I think there's a method to my madness. Let's go back to that first question. Who were you as a kid? That self-starter, that little girl who was doing things, getting things done by herself, you know, playing dress up, creating these worlds and living them out in reality. That's who you've always been, right, Laura?
Yeah, that's who I was, who I am, who I'll continue to be. Self-starter, wanting to get things done and not going to let people stop me from doing that if I want to do it.
I think that's the perfect way for us to end this conversation. Laura, thank you so much for joining us on Dreams and Drive. Before we go, though, you have to tell our listeners where they can check you out online, where they can see more of your TV and film reviews. Give us all the details.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Raina, for having me. It was really a blast to talk about all that I've accomplished and like look back on things and reflect. I love doing that. But yeah, you can follow me at Not So Critically Acclaimed. I know it's a bit of a tongue twister on Instagram and TikTok. That's where I do all of my best work.
And you know what's funny? I think your title is also very ironic because I think you are growing your critical acclaimment. I don't know if that's a word, right? Like you are becoming critically acclaimed. So it's kind of an irony there. What's the word there? Like it's fun. It's a play on words, right?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was very clever. I've had some people like give me compliments thinking like, oh, that's a clever name. I know it's kind of long, like that's the only downside. Like if it were to ever get patented and turn into a company, it's kind of like not everything you shouldn't be in like in a company name, but
you're making it your own. And I think that's what will inspire people. Like go all in on what you're interested in and let the passion kind of steer you next.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Today we have two very special guests on our program, introducing Lem and Lime.
Hello.
For Starry Lemon Lime Soda.
Thanks for having us.
What is Starry Lemon Lime Soda?
It's a crisp, clear burst of lemon lime flavor, and it's caffeine-free.
Between us, one of you must be a little more important to Starry than the other. Who is it?
We're both important.
So it could just as easily be Starry Lime Lemon Soda.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Oh, I like it.
So you saying hip-hop could be hop-hip?
Works for me.
Starry Lemon Lime Soda. Starry hits different.
All right, so that's the wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guests' dream driving journey as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.